you think about the importance of critical thinking, and then you realize that your mind is all you have. Should the day come that you lose your mind, that will be the end of you. Because in all sincerity, maybe 95% of the people, right, that you see walking around, they are nothing else but the walking dead. 95% of the people that you see moving around, they are nothing else but living zombies. Media shapes their opinion. Media shapes their viewpoint. Media shapes their thinking. Media shapes their fashion sense. Media shapes their morality. Media shapes their sense of justice. Media shapes their sense of family. Media shapes their sense of love. Media shapes their sense of sensibility to friends and friendship and relationships. Media shapes their sense of religion and their God, as you may say it. Media shapes their sense of their viewpoint on other people. Media, in effect, is the God of the masses and is the God and the ruler of this world. Therefore, people are no longer able to come up with their own original thoughts. So when you ask someone, what do you think? 9 times out of 10, the response you will get from that person will not be an original idea. It will be an idea that has been recycled from what they saw in a movie, what they saw whilst reading the newspaper, and what they saw from the news. However, the Bible says that a good man is able to pull out treasures coming from his own within. So we are thankful unto the Almighty that He has granted unto us this opportunity to be able to come your way so that we also may influence you some, right? So since everyone is being brainwashed and indoctrinated, we hope that you will be indoctrinated by this doctrine, right? For the Bible says that Moses began to sing a song and he said, my doctrine will fall down like dew. So whether you like it or not, everyone under the sun is indoctrinated. So if you ought to choose a doctrine whereby you are indoctrinated, please choose the doctrine of Elohim. Because the Bible says the commandments that I give you, they are your wisdom. And it is by keeping these commandments, keeping these laws and these statutes, that you will be able to be distinguishable from all the other nations, where all the other nations are going after madness. Just look at Babylon. Just look at Babylon and their god Samael. And look at the point of madness that he has driven these Babylonians. Nowadays, when you ask someone a simple question like, what is a woman? It seems as if even Einstein himself is not able to give you a clear answer as to what a woman is. And I'm like, are you mad? So that is the world we are living. Professors now have PhDs where they are able to concoct stories about the fact that you are not defined by your gender. You are defined by how you feel. So why am I not able to go to my boss one day and tell him, hey, I feel as if today I'm your boss? And they're like, no, there are roles. You're like, I don't give a damn about the roles. It's about, I'm not defined by the roles written on our contract. I'm defined by how I feel. I'll be fired, right? But somehow a female is not defined by the gender and the sex she has been given at birth. However, that individual is defined by how he or she or they or them feel at a particular moment. But these are so-called professors. So you see, the wisdom of this age is madness. And they tell you you are backwards because you adhere to a Bible. That's what they say. They're like, in 2023, you still believe in that dogma? You still believe in those books written by pedophiles? That's what they say. So I'm supposed to drop the Bible, in which I'm able to find a sense of morality, self-control, respect, and honor. I'm supposed to drop the Bible and then believe in the dogmas of the new age philosophies that tell me that women are not women, men are not men. You cannot classify someone as woman or men. You can only classify them as something. I'm supposed to believe them. Have you read and seen the statistics? It seems as if the baby boomers, people that were born before the 1980s, maybe 2 or 4% of them are homosexual. 2 to 4% of baby boomers. However, they said the statistics are showing that the generation, what's it called? Generation Z? Around 24 to 30 something percent are gay. So what has happened? What has happened is they have been born in a world where they told them being gay is acceptable. What you have to understand about the human brain is the human brain adapts to the rules you've given them. The human brain, it adapts to the rules you've been given them. You can take two children with the same genealogy, everything is the same, and you raise one up and you tell him you are a king, you are a boss, you are strong, you are this, and that child will grow out to be what you told him. And you can take another child, everything is the same, but you tell them you are a loser, you tell them you are nothing, you tell them you are this, and that child will conform to the reality you give them. And the reality that we have given our children, the reality that we are given in Babylon, it is telling us, be what you want. You are free. You feel like a woman, fine. You feel like a lizard, fine. You feel like a dog, fine. Everything you feel is fine. Don't let no one put you inside of a square. You are free. But what is the result of it? Madness all over the place. We went to do shopping. It is as if everyone that works at a shop, especially a shopping mall where they sell clothes, it is as if 98% of the people that work there are homosexuals or lesbian. We were walking yesterday and I was like, the statistics are even wrong. It seems as if it's now 2 to 1. So it's as if like you meet one person that is straight, one person that is left. So the statistics are wrong. And when I look at our generation, I think homosexuality, lesbianism, and everything in between, I think it's maybe 50-50 now. 50-50. And amongst Edomites, it's maybe 75-25. Amongst the islanders, I think now it is 50-50. Amongst the Africans, it may be now 25% to 75%. If that level now is also reaching Africa, it ought to tell you something. You know, sometimes I sit and I applaud the Arabian countries. I sit down sometimes and I applaud Russia. I applaud Saudi Arabia, where they say, Allahu Akbar. If they find you with the sin of sodomy, you are. Because the level that this madness is going, soon and very soon, they will legalize pedophilia. Because that is the next station. The train is already heading. We left straights, we left the gays, we have now arrived to the transgenders. The next stop will be pedophilia. And after pedophilia is legalized, then you will see Satan incarnate. We are going there. We are going there. We are going there. So people, the times are far spent. So if you are able to hold on to the doctrines of Elohim, do your best and hold on to them, because the times are growing sick. The people are growing sick. The people are growing sick. But because of time and because we don't want to digress, let's move. So today's topic will be
leadership by example. And the topic for today is the mother Deborah, or Deborah the prophetess.
Deborah the prophetess. Last week we touched on Moses. We saw, or we showed you, leadership from a male perspective and from the perspective of a servant of Elohim. Today we will look at leadership by example, but now we will put more emphasis on women, right? And we will use Deborah as a case study. So without any further ado, let's move ahead for today's lesson.
For today's lesson, we will look at the subject of leadership with regards to the sheepfold of Elohim's pasture. Living in Babylon, the difference between male and female have unfortunately become blurred. The confusion in our day and time, however, does not negate the divine ordinance of heaven. From a biblical perspective, there is a clear difference between what a man can do and what a female can do. We will therefore look at the life of Mother Deborah the prophetess and see how she was able to lead people in Israel within her capacity and how that prospered the people. Hopefully, this will encourage many of our sisters to not look down on themselves, but intelligently move within the set order of Elohim to the benefit of themselves and the people in their lives.
That's it, right? The only way that you can function in this day and age is if you trust Elohim. You ought to trust in his divine will. You ought to trust in the fact that he knows what is the best for you. Just like a child completely trusts his parents. Sometimes you look at your son, you look at your daughter, and you tell them something, and you can just see the sparkle in their eyes. They believe you for 100%. They don't care about, does daddy have money? is mommy able? All they know is daddy said, mommy said, so therefore it will be all right. You must believe in this wisdom that Elohim has put in place with regards to the role of a woman, the role of a man. And if we keep these things intact, you will see that we will prosper. We will find balance. There will be no quarrels because the roles are clearly put in place, right? So let's look at the table of content. We'll look at
the life of Deborah the prophetess. What is a female prophetess? We'll look at examples of female prophetesses. We'll look at what does a judge do. We'll look at the title, A Mother in Israel, and then we'll conclude.
So it's quite straightforward, but do not be fooled. You may see some bullet points there, but depending on how it goes, it may take a while. So, but we'll try to wrap it up. But don't be fooled, right? So, the life of Deborah, the prophetess. Can people read it? Can people see it? Is it clear? Because sometimes with you guys, you never know. Is it readable? The life of Deborah, the prophetess. So, it quote as well. So Judges 4:1.
And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of Yah when Ehud was dead. And Yah sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Haroshet of the Gentiles.
In case you cannot read it, we have tried. So you can then pull up for yourself Judges chapter 4 from chapter 1, and we will read it until chapter 15. In the case that you can't read it for some reason. Judges 4 from 1, please continue.
Now I'm at verse 3. And the children of Israel cried unto Yah, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidot, she judged Israel at that time, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Had not Yah Elohim of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw towards Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali, and go and of the children of Zebulun. And I will draw unto thee to the river of Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee. Notwithstanding, the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For Yah shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet. And Deborah went up with him. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had severed himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zanam, which is by Kadesh. And they shewed Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, was gone up to the Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him from Harosh of the Gentiles unto the river Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which Yah had delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not Yah gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him before Barak, and 10,000 men after him. And Yah discomfited Sisera, verse 15, and all his chariots and all his hosts with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down from his chariot and fled away on his feet. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host unto Haroshet of the Gentiles, and all the hosts of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left.
So this slide. We'll soon begin to break it down, but just take note of all the areas that I highlighted in gold. Of all the areas that were highlighted in gold. First, you see that a woman arose by the name of Deborah, and she was called a prophetess, but she was also the wife of Lapidot. She was a judge in Israel, and the children of Israel came to her for judgment. And then when she called, or when they called unto her for help, she called for a man to be able to be there in the vanguard when things would fall, when things would actually happen and take place. So that is part one of her story. And after that, Elohim, by the hand of Deborah and Barak, was able to help the children of Israel. Now you go to the next slide.
Judges 5 from 1.
Which is, I think this one is clearer for all to read. So Judges 5 verse 1, it says, Then sang
Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, on that day, saying, Praise ye Yah for the avenging of Israel, when the people willingly offered themselves. Hear, O ye kings, give ear, O ye princes. I, even I will sing unto Yah. I will sing praise to Yah Elohim of Israel. Yah, when thou wentest out of Seir, when thou marched out of the field of Edom, the earth trembled and the heavens dropped. The clouds also dropped water. The mountains melted from before Yah, even that Sinai from before Yah Elohim of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the highways were unoccupied, and the travelers walked through byways. The inhabitants of the villages seized. They seized in Israel until that I, Deborah, arose, that I arose a mother in Israel. They chose new Elohim. Then was war in the gates. Was there a shield or spear seen among 40,000 in Israel? My heart is towards the governors of Israel that offer themselves willingly among the people. Bless ye Yah. Speak, ye that ride on white donkeys, ye that sit in judgment and walk by the way. they that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the place of drawing water. There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yah, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of the villages in Israel. Then shall the people of Yah go down to the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake and utter a song. And arise, Barak, and lead thy captivity captive, thou son of Abinoam.
So we are continuing our exposition. After that, the children of Israel were delivered by the hands of Barak and Deborah. You saw that they began to sing a song, and Deborah began to recount her story. And she specifically tells you that until that I, Deborah, arose, that I arose a mother in Israel. Now she continues her singing, and she says, Deborah, awake, awake. As for you, utter a song. However, Barak, the man, arise, and as for you, lead thy captivity captive, thou son of Abinoam. So what are we trying to highlight here when it comes to the story of Deborah and the leadership position that she took, right? So first, let us start with the first part that we highlighted 2 slides ago, where it says Deborah, the prophetess, and the wife of Lapidot. So the question then arises, what is a female prophetess? We are at the next slide. What is a female prophetess? So let's first understand the whole concept of a prophet. So 1 Samuel 9:9.
Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of Elohim, thus he spake, Come, and let us go to the seer. For he that is now called the prophet was before time called a seer.
So before time in Yashrael or in Israel, when people wanted to inquire something from Elohim, they would say, Come and let us go to the seer. For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. Right? So we took the lexicon, Strong's 87203, Roe, and it says
a seer,
or one.
Is a seer, and another meaning is also a prophet, or 2, a prophetic vision.
A prophetic
vision.
Actually, it is vision first and then prophetic in brackets. And then read what it says in the definitions legend. It says Roe, active particle, a seer, as often rendered, but also abstractly a
vision.
So on Brown Driver Briggs lexicon, it says masculine seer with article, blah, blah, blah. The seers as a class, blah, blah, blah. And then it says Isaiah 28:7, they reel in their vision. And then I wrote down in yellow, a vision is to see.
A vision is to see with the eyes of your spirit by the inspiration of another guiding spirit. With this gift, one is able to see things for what they really are without deception if trained properly. One is able to see the past, present, and future to a certain extent.
So a prophet has many facets. That word is big. But if you would only focus on the word seer, a seer is someone who's able to pierce through the veil. A seer is someone who's able to see things that others cannot. So I wrote down, a vision is to see, not with your physical eyes, because all can see with their physical eyes. A vision is to see with the eyes of your spirit. So a seer is someone who has that gift, who's able to penetrate through the veil and see things that others cannot. And it can be something that they see concerning the past, the present, or the future. So, for example, in the days of Samuel, people were looking for their sheep, if I remember correctly, and they did not know where the sheep went. So they went to the seer and they said, Seer, we are looking for our sheep. So they were very specific. And now the seer, with the gift he had to tune in and discern the specific sheep that was theirs And he was able to tell them what happened to the sheep and where they could find the sheep and where. That's that gift. You see with the eyes of your spirit. However, it is by the inspiration of another guiding spirit. Because we will not jump into prophecy itself, we can't really go into the details of all these things. So when you are also a seer, it does not mean you see 24/7 by your own command. You see what the spirit that is guiding you allows you to see. And depending on your relationship with that guiding spirit, you can ask that spirit to see certain things specific. And sometimes that spirit will show you things on its own volition. So when it says, and Deborah, the prophetess, arose, it meant Deborah was someone who had this gift. She was able to see things. She was able to see things. Right? So I'm only highlighting what a prophet now is, or what someone that is a seer is. And this is irrespective now of your gender, being a female or male. That vision part is the same. However, let's now jump to the Strong's lexicon when it comes to Nebi or a prophet. It says a prophet is one, a spokesman,
a speaker, a prophet, or a prophet once again, B, a false prophet, or C, a heathen prophet.
And the definitions legend says?
The Strong's definition says a nabi, a prophet, or generally an inspired man, prophecy, that prophesy, or once again a prophet.
As we said, that inspired man, it is that spirit that inspires you, right? However, now we are jumping into the specifics. Jeremiah 23:28, it says, the prophet
that has a dream,
let him
tell a dream.
And he that had my word,
let him speak my word faithfully.
And now Elohim is asking a very critical question. And when it comes to this, to Elohim, those who want to go far with him are the ones that are able to become very specific, are the ones that are able to go into the details of the text. And now Elohim is asking, what is the chaff
to the wheat?
Said Yah. What Elohim is saying here, he's showing you two different prophets. He's saying the prophet that had a dream, let him tell that dream. And he that had my word, let him speak my word faithfully. And then he's asking and saying, what is the chaff to the wheat? Meaning, Elohim is telling you that from his perspective, there is a difference between the two. One he considers a chaff, the other he considers a wheat. And what he's simply telling you is, even though you can be called a prophet, there is a chaff and there is a wheat. If you are called to be a prophet that simply dreams, Elohim is saying, please, you stick to your dreams. And he's saying, however, if you are one that is called to have my word, make sure you tell my word faithfully. Now, why am I saying this? Then I wrote down in yellow, even though all prophets
dream and have visions, not all prophets have the word of Yah. The ability to teach the word of Yah is set apart for only the male prophets.
Repeat that again.
Even though all prophets dream and have visions, not all prophets have the word of Yah. The ability to teach the word of Yah is set apart for only the male prophets.
Since the guiding spirits
that causes visions and insights are subject to the commandments of Yah, they will not give a woman the word of Yah, since that would be a transgression of the law.
I hope you're now understanding me. That even though Deborah was called a prophet, unless she was a false prophet, but the Bible does not call her false. So it means she was on the border of righteousness. So it means the spirit that was leading her, that spirit itself would not break the transgression of the law. So therefore, that spirit would show her dreams, visions, but she would not receive the word of Yah. Because otherwise that spirit would be in rebellion.
And in case that might not be clear for some, what is the distinction between receiving a word of Yah in a dream and that word of Yah that you are speaking
So as for that dream or that vision, let's say people come to her and they're like, we have issues with this and this and this. The spirit then that is helping her can then show her things concerning the people. And that spirit can give her a word of wisdom. For hey, this and this is the solution. That is having that dream or having that vision in order to help the people prosper and excel. However, the word of Yah is a message from Yah, and it has to do with teaching, scriptures, admonition. The difference is, for example, Moses. How do you think Moses received the 10 commandments? It was through an open vision, interaction with the angel. The angel taught him mysteries, and the angel then said, go and teach this to your people. But that same guiding spirit would never tell Deborah, here is the word, go and teach this to the people. Because that would be a transgression of the law. That is the difference.
So, for my understanding, that word of Yah talks about, let's say, the teaching of the law, the commandments, the prophecies, and the scriptures of Yah.
Yes.
Clear.
Yes. So that was the capacity within which Deborah and all female prophets operate. So when people then read and they're like, since that will be a transgression of the law, which law? So let's go to the next slide. The law. 1 Corinthians 14:32. Read.
And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. For Elohim is not the author of confusion, but of peace.
So when people read this, they're like, yeah, so now it means because I'm a prophet, I command. No. Read carefully. When it says, and the spirits of the prophets
are subject
to the prophet, what it simply means is the ministering spirits that minister to you, they themselves are subject to the laws which the prophets gave. So that's all that it means. Meaning, the spirits that will guide you, if they are righteous spirit, they will not contradict nor break the law. That's what it means. And no matter how strong you are as a female, there is no our wives, they have need of us too much. Sometimes you're like, can I have space to breathe? You're like, please, I need some time. But it's as if they want to cling to you and they want to be with you 24/7. They want to hold you and you can. Where are you going? Like, it's as Shalom would say, it's in their code. That's how Elohim wrote them down. It's in their code. You can't fight the code. Right? So he said that desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. It is a law. And then unto Adam he said, because thou hast what?
Hearkened unto the voice of thy wife,
And has eaten
of the tree of which I commanded thee,
saying,
thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake.
So that is the law that they were referring to. The woman in Genesis, Elohim made Adam the teacher. But all of a sudden, Eve tried to teach Adam a new doctrine. Adam listened to Eve's doctrine, and the whole world went into shambles. So Elohim said, because you have done this, henceforth, you will not be a teacher of man anymore. I strip you of that right. You will not teach your husband. No, you will be under his subjection. And then he emphasized this and he told Adam, because you refuse to listen to me, but you hearken unto the voice of thy wife, this and this will happen. So from that moment on, the woman was limited by Elohim when it comes to teaching. Henceforth, why you would see, even in the Old Testament, how many female priests would you see in the Testament, in the Bible?
0.
They don't exist. There were no female lawgivers, teachers. They do not exist because it would be in direct contradiction with the law. However, there are female prophetesses. Why? Because a prophetess is one who's inspired to see with the eyes of her spirit. She's able to see the present, the future, and the past, and they can give people counsel and solution to get out of a situation. But it does not mean that they are to teach. There is a difference there. So that is the law that Shaul kept referring to. So 1 Timothy 2:11 again.
Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man.
The same language as Genesis, but to be in
silence.
For Adam
was first formed,
then
Eve,
and Adam
was not deceived,
but
the woman being deceived
was
in transgression.
This is plain and simple. This is plain and simple. It's very clear as to what happened. That was the law. Questions, or can we move?
A question about the previous slide.
Previous slide.
Yeah,
okay.
When you were distinguishing between the visions.
Okay, so I went back to what's the question?
So the question is, how can you distinguish between the vision or dream of a prophet or prophetess and the visions or dreams that any person can have?
People.
So when would that vision be an indicator of someone being a prophet or prophetess?
So as I said, the topic is not what is prophecy, people. That's not the topic because that is a topic on its own. There is no such thing as really a vision. A difference. You sleep, you dream. A prophet sleeps and dreams. Sometimes the difference can be that those that are really called will oftentimes, maybe 99% of the time when they dream, there is someone guiding them, even the dream. They can ask questions in the dream. So if you only see things and no one is there to explain things to you, then that can be a clear indication. But for the rest, there is not really a difference. They dream, you dream. And when you really excel, we'll deal with that later, you can sometimes ask or put yourself in a state to enter into a trance. And when a question is really pertinent, that's why you read the prophet, they will say, bring me instruments. So they can know how to put themselves in that condition to see specific things. And if you don't have that ability, then you are not of that line. But when it comes to the actual dreaming, you go to sleep, you dream. They also go to sleep and dream. Yeah?
And the last question was, it's removed. Okay, no, so no more last question. That was it. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the law. So we go to the next slide. Examples of female prophets. So I explained that whole dreaming a bit. I explained the difference between a female and a male prophet. But now I will give you examples of female prophets in the scriptures. And I will show you how their prophecies were different from those of the male. So examples of female prophets in the scriptures. We'll start with Miriam.
Yash 68 from 1. And it was at that time that the spirit of Elohim was upon Miriam, the daughter of Amram, the sister of Aaron. And she went forth and prophesied about the house, saying...
So she was sitting, and the spirit of Yah came upon her. And as she went forth, and she started prophesying, foretelling a future event about the house, saying, behold,
a son will be born unto us from my father and mother this time,
and he will save
Israel from the hands of Egypt.
So when she did this, did she take any scripture? And did she begin to explain, as it is written in the book of Exodus? No. And don't say, yeah, but they didn't have scrolls. They had scrolls back then. But she didn't go about explaining a scripture. No. The spirit came upon her and she was like, behold, at this day and this time and day, a son will be born unto this house from my father and my mother. And his duty shall be to lead the people. That's a prophecy given by a woman. They are able to do this. And when Amram heard the words
of his daughter,
he went
and took his wife back to the house after he had driven her away at the time when Pharaoh ordered every male child of the house of Jacob to be thrown into the water.
So that is example 1. Exodus 15:1, it says, then sang Moses
and the children of Israel this song unto Yah.
So Moses sang, and all the children of Israel sang this song unto Yah. Verse 20, and Miriam,
the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hands, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances.
And Miriam also began to sing, and she led all the
women.
She led all the women. All these examples are there for a reason. And she led all the women. That is Miriam. We are jumping. Examples of female prophetess in the scripture. Huldah. This one is, if you're not reading carefully, this one can be tricky. However, it is all there. So take your time. I don't know, is this too small again, or is it readable?
Anyways, they can look it up, right?
So if you can read it, this text can be found in 2 Kings chapter 22 from verse 10. And then we'll be jumping some. So from verse 10, it says, and Shaphan,
the scribe, shewed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest had delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam the son of Shaphan.
So the fact that the king, because this was the time during which they were renewing the temple, because the temple was destroyed, and they began to rebuild the temple again. And as the temple was destroyed, many books were also lost and burned. And as they were restoring the temple, they happened upon the book of the law. They just found it in the ruins of the temple. And as they found the book of the law, they brought it to Shaphan the scribe, and he shewed it to the king. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. it means that what? He was able to understand what was written. Because if you are reading something to me and I can't understand it, why would I rent my clothes? It means that he read that there was judgment written there. And he read the judgment and he became afraid and sorrowful. And he rent his clothes. Read.
And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam the son of Shaphan and Akbor the son of Micaiah and Shaphan the scribe and Asahiah the servant of the king, saying, Go ye inquire of Yah for me.
So there were all these men there, but no prophets. So the king said, go and inquire
of Yah for me
and for the people
and for all Judah
concerning
the words of this book that is found.
For great is the
wrath of Yah that is kindled against us.
How does he know that? Because they read the book, he understood it. The words there were plain and simple. So he said, for great is the wrath of Yah towards us and our people, because our fathers
have not hearkened unto the words of this book
to do
according unto all that which is written concerning us.
So verse 14. So Hilkiah,
the priest, and Ahikam and Akbor and Shaphan and Asahiah
went to who?
Huldah the prophetess.
Went to who?
Unto Huldah the prophetess.
Went to Huldah the prophetess. Now read.
The wife of Shallum.
Not only was she a prophetess, she was a wife of who?
Of Shallum.
Shallum. The son of Tikvah. The son of Harhas,
keeper of the wardrobe.
Now she dwelt
in Jerusalem in the college,
and they communed
with her.
And she said to them,
Thus saith Yah Elohim of
now
Israel.
listen at, once again, her counsel. Listen at her counsel. Thus saith
Yah Elohim of Israel,
tell the man
that sent you to me. Thus saith Yah,
behold,
I will bring evil upon this place
and upon
the inhabitants thereof,
even all the words
of the book which the king of Judah had read.
Was she explaining the book? She's simply saying, thus saith Yah, I will bring evil here. Exactly concerning and exactly as the words that the king read in the book. Read.
Which the king had read, because they have forsaken me and have burned incense unto other elves, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place and shall not be quenched. But to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of Yah, thus shall ye say to him, Thus saith Yah Elohim of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before Yah, when thou heard what I spake against this place and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept before me. I also have heard thee, said Yah. Behold, therefore, I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace, and thy eyes shall not see the evil which I shall bring upon this place. And they brought the king word again.
Do you see that gift? She was able to pierce through the veil. Because when the king heard the words and his heart was broken, she was not there. But how was she able to look into the past? It's with that gift. Not only was she able to look into the past, she brought it to the present and she foretold the future. That's that gift. She did not explain any text. She simply confirmed what was written on the text. She said, Elohim will surely bring evil upon this place. However, when you were weeping in your room, Elohim also saw it, and he said he will show you mercy. That was the gift she was using. She did not explain, nor did she break down any law. No. That is given to the males. The females, however, are able to prophesy. Look into the present, the past, the future, foretell future events, discern the hearts of men, give counsel, wisdom, direction. This was what Deborah was doing. This was what Huldah is doing. But within the capacity of a female, she immediately, she knew the boundaries that she could, that was set before her, and she was intelligently operating within those boundaries, and she was being of help, and she was even considered someone who could lead. Why? Because the men went to her and they were like, Huldah, what said Yah concerning this? Because we don't know. And since you are a prophetess, it is given to you to ask that question to Yah. And the angel will come and will explain it, but the angel will be restricted because she's a woman. However, counsel will be given. So don't restrict yourself. Yeah, I'm a female, so no. If you have this gift, you are a treasure in the hands of Elohim. You can be of benefit to many people. Your dreams, your insights, your intuition, it will help many. But you must train it. You must exercise it. You must train this. And you must also understand, where are my limitations? What am I allowed to do and not to do? So you oftentimes also see these women, they have the gift of prophecy, but many also have the gift of singing. And it is in their singing is that they are ministering. They are ministering. But you already have it within you. You have very sharp insights. Sometimes before things happen, you feel it. Sometimes before something falls, you already feel it, and you don't know. These are the we call it the
Science.
These are the signs. Very sensitive. You dream things, you see things, you feel things before they happen. You hear things people don't hear. You even have the gift of saying it. So you are the total package, but you are unaware. Why? You are too emotional. You're only thinking about love. I'm like, what are you doing with all these capacities? Instead of breaking your head thinking about how can I cultivate this gift, or you're only thinking about love. I'm like, what a waste sometimes. Wow. So this was Huldah, the prophetess. So we are jumping. There's a question.
As you said concerning training, so the question is, how do you properly train this gift as a woman?
I think we will reach there. We'll reach there when we go to the example of Anna. So keep that question in mind. We will explain it. Good question, sister. So let's continue. How do you properly train this gift? So Anna, examples of female prophets in the New Testament. Anna, Luke 2:36.
And there was one Anna, the prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was of great age and had lived with an husband 7 years from her virginity. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple.
Now listen, but she served Yah
with fastings and prayers night and day.
And she served Yah
with fastings and prayers night and day.
And she coming in that instant gave thanks
likewise unto Yah,
as spake
of him to all them that looked for redemption in Jerusalem.
So the simple-minded ones, especially when they read verse 38, it's not easy, this world. They read verse 38 and they jump the gun. They jump to conclusions. It's just like when you read and the Messiah, it's just like when you read and the Messiah told Mary and I think Martha when he arose and he said, go tell my brothers that I'm risen. People read that and they conclude from it meant the women were the first preachers of the Messiah. I'm like, people, you can't take a singular instance and conclude. It must be line upon line. If your gut feeling is not supported by other verses in the Bible, you can't take that as a doctrine. So when the Bible says in verse 38, and spake of him to all that looked for redemption in Jerusalem, how is that preaching? How is that teaching? How is that teaching? How is that teaching? When people would walk past her and she would say, "Be blessed, O ye people, for today the Savior is born." How is that teaching? How is that teaching? But people will read this and, "Oh, you see, so she was teaching." Good luck. Good luck if that is how you think and reason. So to come back to the sister question, how then do you train this? So because this gift comes from Yah, every gift that comes from Yah must be used, and the very base is righteousness. You must have a fear of Elohim. You must try to live as pure a life as possible, keeping the commandments and the laws of Elohim, running away from sin and anything that causes the angels to run from you. Because as we said before, you don't decide what you see. When you are a prophet or you have this gift, you are a vessel. You are a vessel. You are a mouthpiece. You don't say, "Thus feeleth I." You say, "Thus saith Elohim," meaning it must be Elohim that speaks through you. Now, unrighteous living, etc., it hinders and blocks the spirit of Elohim. So if you want the spirits of Elohim to minister through you, you must live a life that will please them. So when you live a life that will please them, you will see that they will become your friend. And then they will show you things. However, in the showing of things, apart from living righteous, you must have a heart for the people. Because why would an angel show you someone you don't know and show you his difficult situation? When you see that person, you don't know him, what will you do with that? So you must have a heart for the people. Those who pray a lot for people, they see a lot about people. That is a clear secret. You pray a lot for people, that means the angels will see you are invested in their lives. So when the angels invest the gift in you and they show you things, they know that when we show him or her things, the vision will not go to waste. When we show him or her things, that person will take it as a burden and will try to solve it along with us. So we show you a vision, you begin to plead to Elohim on that person's behalf. You reach out to that person because angels, spirits, don't have hands and feet like you in this world. So they will need you to be their hands and feet to do the things that they are not allowed. So you start praying for people. The more you pray, the more you see. And the more you see, the clearer the vision begins to be. To the point where, as we said, you reach a point where you're no longer alone in your dreams, but there is always someone standing by your side. If you see something that is unclear in your dream, you ask the person beside you, "What does this mean?" And that person begins to explain things to you. So you will see the more you begin to dream, the clearer your dreams become, to the point where your dreams are no longer in secret and mysteries. You dream things plain. You dream things plain. So just like this world becomes, the spirit world also becomes to you plain. That's how you exercise it. You train it, you train it, you train it, you train it. So fastings, prayers, I won't even say fastings yet, prayers, obviously studying of the word, because there is nothing that an angel will tell you that is outside of the word. And especially in your beginning stages, when many of the dreams will be in codes and symbols. If you don't know the Bible, you will mess up. So studying the word, praying, living righteously, interceding a lot for people. And from that moment on, the one that is leading you, he himself will begin to teach you things. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. That is how you excel, and that is how you grow, and that is how you grow. Simple. Yes? So we are continuing. The 4 daughters of Philip. So you saw Anna, she was where? In the temple, right? But she did not have a prominent role in the temple. She was serving Elohim in the temple. Nowhere does it say, and she was preaching and teaching like the scribes. Anna was serving. How was she serving? Being a prophetess, she was serving through prayer and fastings. And when people come, she would give direction, but she was not teaching. That is how you serve. And this was Anna, a prophetess in the temple. So the 4 daughters of Philip, read.
In Acts 21, verse 8. And the next day, we that were of Paul's company departed and came unto Caesarea. And we entered into the house of Philip the evangelist.
So this was Philip the evangelist. Nowadays, no one wants to be an evangelist. What an ungrateful ministry it seems. No one wants to be an evangelist. And even those that are evangelists nowadays, especially in Christianity, where you can ministry hop. They start out as evangelists, 2 to 3 years. They open a church, and then all of a sudden they upgrade spiritually. They jump from evangelists to prophets or apostles. So they can ministry hop. So it's as if the ministry of the evangelist, it's a stepping stone to greater things. It's not true. It is not true. So it tells you, and behold, the house of Philip the evangelist, which was one
of the 7
and abode
with him,
and the same men, listen carefully, had
4 daughters,
virgins,
which did prophesy.
Which what?
Which did prophesy.
It means they would sometimes go to their father and whisper, thus said Elohim, Daddy, this will happen. Daddy, this will happen. Daddy, this will happen. Daddy, this will happen. Be careful with this, Dad. Dad, I saw this. Dad, I dreamt this. And the father was listening. He was listening. And he trained them up well because he identified they have this seed of prophecy in them. He trained them well. And the spirits would minister and serve them. However, and as we tarried there many days,
there came down from Judea
a certain
prophet.
And when that prophet came, those that were of the company of Shaul and Shaul were also there. But all the days that those that were with Shaul and Shaul was there, and the daughters were also there, they were seeing many things, but certain things they were not seeing. But then, behold, there came a prophet from somewhere by the name of
Agabus.
By the name of Agabus. If this is not an African, I don't know. I don't know how you guys read the Bible. This is not a Caucasian with twisted curly hair. This is a wild bearded African, short guy by the name of Agabus. He came out of nowhere, right? And when he was come
unto us,
he took
Shaul's girdle and bound his own hands and feet
and said,
thus says the set apart spirit,
so shall
the Jews at Jerusalem bind the man that owns this girdle and shall deliver him into the hands of the Gentiles.
Now you see how this sometimes can become tricky. Why did the spirit show this to Agabus but not to the 4 daughters? If it is true that a prophet sees 24/7, right? Why did the daughters not see this? Why? Because you do not decide, again, what you see. It is based upon Elohim's clock and agenda, what he wants to be revealed at that time. He will then begin to look where are the available vessels. And then the spirit will come and it will show you, because at that time it is conducive for you people's journey. But Agabus came and the spirit allowed him to see what will happen to Shaul. But the daughters of Philip were there. They were sleeping in that house, but they did not see it. And when that happens, none of them was like, oh, so does that mean we are lesser than? No, they understood We don't decide. We are vessels. Elohim shows what he wants to show. And they were not allowed to see what will happen to Shaul, but Agabus was allowed. That is just to show you how, even amongst this whole prophecy things, there are things you see, things you don't see. And there is difference between women and men. All these things you find it, and the examples are there for your learning. So that is the New Testament. So having dealt with some examples to show you how prophecy works when it comes to women, we showed you from the old and from the new. So now we dealt with that I, Deborah, arose a prophetess. Now we will look at Deborah the judge. Right? So Deborah, a judge in Israel. Judges 3 and 4 and 3. And the children of Israel cried unto Yah.
For he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidot,
she judged
Israel at that time.
And she dwelt
under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim.
And the children of Israel
came up to her for judgment.
So when you read this, you're like, oh, so does that mean, oh, she was a judge? So I thought only males could be judges. No, there are also female judges in Israel. So when it comes to judging, outline of biblical usage, lexicon, Strong's H8199, Safat, and it says 1, to judge.
Or govern, or vindicate and punish.
Vindicate simply means that's what Huldah did. She vindicated the judgment that was already written on the book. And she told the king this will happen. So she's vindicating or confirming what was spoken. A judge does that. Right? Or punish. When you tell something, this will happen. That is also what a judge does. And sometimes also, depending on where you stand, when Elohim's hand is about to move in someone's life, and you see, if this person doesn't take care, this person will die. You can also pronounce judgment to save that person. Just like Shaul said, I have judged this person, send him out to Satan for a season so that his soul may be saved. When you read the book of Corinthians, you will read, I think, Corinthians 6. That was not an angel who said it. Shaul said it to save that person. But let him suffer for a season. And I hope that this suffering will teach him to come back to Elohim before it is too late. A judge can do that. So he wrote down to act as a lawgiver.
Or judge or governor of Elohim. To rule, govern, judge, to decide controversy of Elohim or man, to execute judgment, discriminating of man, vindicating, condemning, and punishing. At theophanic advent for final judgment, or B, to enter into controversy, plead, have controversy together to be judged, or C, to judge or the opponent at law. And then the Strong's definition, I guess. It says shafat, once again, a primitive root meaning to judge.
Or pronounce
sentence.
Just like Miriam would do and all of them.
For or against, by implication to vindicate or punish, by extension to govern, passively, or to litigate by law, I guess, literally or figuratively, or to avenge, to condemn, to contend or defend, to execute judgment, to be a judgment of needs, or to plead, to reason and rule.
Exactly. So to be a judge is not gender specific. Biblically speaking, male, female can be judges. Male, female can be in leadership. But the execution of leadership can be different. So, 1 Corinthians 6:6.
Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust.
Listen at what Shaul is saying.
So dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to the law before the unjust, and not before the saints. Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world?
Saints, plural, male, female. And if the world
shall be judged by you,
are ye unworthy
to judge the smaller matters?
Know ye not
that we shall judge angels?
how much more?
Things that pertain to this life.
Verse 4. If then
ye have judgment of things pertaining to this life,
set them to judge
who are least esteemed in the assembly.
No, set them to be judged by the big boys.
Set them to be judged who are least esteemed in the assembly.
No, set them to be judged only by men.
Set them to judge who are least esteemed in the assembly.
Who are least esteemed in the assembly. So I wrote down in yellow, to be a judge
is not gender specific. It simply requires experience, wisdom, and a sense of morality and impartiality. Therefore, every righteous believer, irrespective of gender, should be able to exercise this.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So when you read, and Deborah was a judge. No. She had experience. She was impartial. She had a sense of righteousness. And she had the gift of prophecy. So she could give people counsel, pronounce judgment, and help people when they were stuck. This was not gender specific. She was able to do it because she had all the right things that were needed. So that is the judge argument. It's plain and simple. We can move. So now comes angle 3. We dealt with prophet. We dealt with judge. We gave examples. Now let's look at the most important one. Deborah, a mother
in Israel.
A mother
in Israel.
Judges 5:7. The inhabitants of the villages
seized.
They seized
in Israel.
Until that I,
Deborah, arose.
That I arose a
mother in Israel.
So lexicon Strong's H517. M or the E is actually the A. So
the outline of biblical usage says that it means a mother of humans. A mother of Deborah's relationship to the people.
Figuratively, of animals. Point of departure
or division.
So write down, read what is
Strong's definition
below there.
So M, a primitive word, a mother.
Amma.
A primitive word, a mother as the bond of the family. In a wide sense, both literally or figuratively, like father. It says dam or mother or parting.
So when she says that I, Deborah, exactly when, listen what you said. It says, and the inhabitants of the villages ceased, meaning the people were scattered. The people were in a state of confusion. They were about to die. And exactly at that point, that I, Deborah, I arose. And I arose a figurative mother in Israel. Why? Because Israel was in confusion. As we said the last time around, it is at the moment of crisis where you are able to identify who is a leader. Leaders are born out of need and not out of volition. So you oftentimes see they have a great sense of responsibility. So let's say you are with 5 of you guys working on something, and when things are going well, you cannot yet identify the leader because things are going well. But when things begin to go south, things begin to go bad, you will first see the weak ones among you. They will begin to sigh. I didn't know that it would be like this. You see, so maybe we should quit. And then maybe there will be one in your midst that has a very strong sense of responsibility. And he will be like, I don't care what will happen. We'll finish this. Even if you guys won't continue, I will push on. That is a clear sign indication of someone who has the leadership potential. When the odds are against leaders, that's when they are at their strongest. When things are about to go bad, that's when all of a sudden they have this infinite amount of energy. When everyone is down, that is when they are standing. So Deborah says that when people were scattered and were in confusion and darkness, Deborah, I arose, a mother in Israel. So example, Matthew 23 verse 37, the Messiah saying, "O Jerusalem,
thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a mother hen gathered her chickens under her wings,
but ye
would not."
Proverbs 6 and 20, my son,
keep thy father's commandment
and forsake not
the law of thy mother.
31 and 1, the words of King
Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him.
The words of King Solomon, and the prophecy that his mother taught him. 1 Timothy 2 and 11. Listen to what Shaul is saying. Let the women
learn in silence without subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, and then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing.
Are you reading this? Notwithstanding, she shall be
saved in childbearing,
if they continue
in faith
and charity and holiness. Now, where am I going with this? Next slide. Proverbs 14 and 1. Every wise
woman builds her house,
but the foolish
plucks it down with her hands.
Now, let's read Proverbs 31 again to understand the context. It says the words of King Solomon or Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother
taught him.
Now, she was teaching him many prophecies or words of wisdoms or insights. And then she came to verse 10, the same mother that first told him, do not drink strong drink because you are a king. Then she told him, do not give your strength to women. Otherwise, they will take away virtue from you. All of these things she was giving Solomon counsel. Then the same woman, the mother of Solomon, she came to verse 10. And then she asked her son and says, a virtuous woman who can find. Read.
For her price is far above rubies.
The heart of her husband
doth safely trust in her,
so that he
shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life.
We jump to verse 26. She openeth her mouth
with wisdom,
and in her tongue
is the law of kindness.
27. She looketh well
to the ways of her household.
She looketh well
to the way of her household,
and eateth not the bread
of idleness.
Her children
arise up
and call her
blessed.
Her husband also,
and he praised her.
Many daughters have done virtuously,
but thou excellest them all.
So people, this is the mother speaking, counseling her son or her son. And she's showing you the importance, and she's also showing you the makeup of what we call a virtuous woman. And if you look at all the job description, 90% of these job description has to do with keeping the household. And this is a virtuous woman. Just break down at your own leisure. Don't believe me. Maybe I'm lying to you. Just read Proverbs 31. Begin to break it down from verse 10 until the end. 90% of the things she's describing are physical things that have to do with the household. No prophetic nothing. And this is a virtuous woman. The same thing that they use in the Bible to incite women to prophesy. Break down what what he says. Break down what she says. She says, of price far above rubies. The heart of a husband that safely trusts in her. Meaning she's able to keep secrets. She will not use something he says against him. And then you read down, you continue what it said. It said, so that she should have no need of spoil. She will do him good in the evil days of life. She openeth her mouth with wisdom. This one is an issue. This one is a real issue. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. This one is an issue. We have sharp-mouthed ladies. Tongues are very sharp. They can offend you, not even realizing, hey, he's my husband. Not even realize, hey, that is a man that I'm speaking to. She can offend you to the point where sometimes you look at yourself and you feel worthless. But you're not worthless. You are bigger than her. You are stronger than her. You are smarter than her. But you look at yourself, you're like, wow. Very sharp mouth. And what is dangerous is this. Just because your husband doesn't maybe offend you back, or maybe just because your husband doesn't show you that he's stronger than you, and he just sits there and he's quiet, you think you are excused. What you have to understand is, if that person is right with Yah, he has also defenders on his side. So when you do these things, they write it down, and if you are not careful, it becomes an accusation against you. And when you bring it too far, your husband won't say it, but they themselves will curse you. They will limit you. All of a sudden, you are at home and you don't know why you are sick. It's because your husband, in his heart, he doesn't like you anymore. But because he has to keep the peace, he won't say it. But if he doesn't like you, you are not blessed. Ja, ik zit thuis, mijn man praat niet tegen me. Succes. Succes. Success. You think that you are the Alpha and Omega, so it means like, yeah, you moet me gewoon niet boos maken, because when I get angry, I'm not responsible for what I say. So when you get angry, you're not responsible for what, so who's responsible? Who? And because we don't talk a lot, you think, oh, alles is vergeven. Why? Because, it's niet vergeven. Sometimes things go so deep, the husband is hurt. But he's just moving. It's okay. He's just moving, but he's hurt. But you are a prophetess. So he's saying her mouth, it speaks in wisdom. And in her tongue is what?
Is the law of kindness.
We have much to do. And you have in the law is the tongue of kindness.
Questions?
So, what's the question?
The question is about, so in the scripture and the examples we handled, we see certain examples of men in leadership roles in temples and women in leadership roles outside of the temple, just as you covered. And the question is, can a woman be a judge or leader in the assembly or in the church?
Of course. Of course. If you are a female, you are a prophetess in the church, you are a leader. Of course. However, if there is a man there, you are under his leadership, but you are still a leader, because the man himself, of course, he's not doing everything. If you are an ancient or an elder in the church, you are a leader. You are a prophet in the church, you are a leader. You are a prophetess in the church, you are a leader. Don't let these people tell you, yeah, there are no female leaders in the church. Who told you that lie? It is just that you are exercising your leadership within the capacity and the boundaries of Elohim. Why would we or any sane person want to take on the leadership role for 100% by himself? The only reason why these Christians do it is because they want the money for themselves. But remove money from the equation, you will see how gladly they will delegate the task. Because to do this job by yourself is not easy. Moses was not by himself. It was heavy for him. So the angel already told Aaron, run to Moses, he will need you. He will need you. And when Aaron went, Miriam also went. So don't think Moses was, no, Moses was there, the elders were there, Aaron was there. Miriam had also a leadership role in the exodus of Moses. What do you think? So of course females have leadership roles, and they are to be respected and honored because we need them. This is not just, oh, it's a male show. No. We need women as well. Because who's supposed to lead the other women? Me? Who, me? Who, us? So we need our women. And we hope for them to come. Clear? Mm-hmm. So continue from verse 27.
There's one last question. So when the scripture speaks about women and households, because you said that 90% of
I will get there. I will get to that famous question. I will get to that question. So we're reading from verse 27. She looketh well to the ways of her household, eateth not the bread of idleness. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. Hey, Proverbs 31 is not easy. I don't know how a woman nowadays can read Proverbs 31 and smile. It is a straight, and it is an indictment. It is a straight gun to your head. You can read 31 and it's a gun. It's a loaded gun. It's a loaded gun. And she eateth not the bread of idleness. Hey. So jump. No. That's fine. Titus 2 from 1. Now listen to what he says. But speak thou the things
which become sound doctrine.
Now Shaul is now giving wisdom and telling Timothy and Titus, because you are in a position of a teacher, you ought to come up with things that become sound doctrine in your assembly. He says that the aged men
be sober,
not too much drinking, be grave, meaning you as a man ought not to joke all the time. A man's demeanor is grave. People ought to sometimes ask you, if I don't like you so boast. If no one has asked you that question before, you are not a man. You must have this demeanor, like, I think it was, what was his name? Josephus, who described the Messiah, saying he was a short, stevige man, short. He had a stubbled beard, and his face was grave. Face was grave. Je kan niet iemand een man en elke pika van jou is Piertifi. Every picture where you are, what's wrong with you, man? If you're a man, you ought to feel the pressures of life. Because sometimes you look grave. Why? Because you're a man. Right? So that the aged men be sober, grave,
Temperate.
temperate. Temperate, it means you're not giddy giddy. You already had a plan, you had niks doen vandaag. Someone calls you, hey, I'm on giddy giddy. Hey, you go. Someone else goes, hey, so you are all over the place. You are a man. You don't move without any purpose. You take your time. Right? Grave. And then he said temperate, self-control, sound in faith, which means things go bad or things are well. You are sound in faith. Komt goed. Ja, maar dit is niet erg. It's okay. You are sound in faith and you are the rock of Gibraltar. You are unshakable. What was his name? John Mensa. Right? So you are sound in faith, in charity, in patience. That last one. There is much work to do for us men as well. That last one. Patience. And then he jumped to the aged women. Likewise, listen.
That they be in behavior as becometh holiness.
Number one, not false.
Accusers.
Women have much to do. You know your own mother. You know your own mother. The moment she picks up the phone, it's Armageddon. The moment she picks up the phone, you're like, mama. So I don't know what's wrong with women and accusing people. It's so difficult to take self-responsibility. Yeah, I did this because you did this. I did this because so your whole life is always in reaction to someone else's action. Are you a human being? Are you alive? Everything around you is reactionary. Ja, ik werd boos want je zei dit tegen me. Ja, ik wou dit doen, maar toen je dit zei, laat maar. So I'm like, so when will you not be affected by it? What's wrong with you? So everything that happens, so he's telling them, aged women, teach the young women not to be false accusers. Stop accusing people for your life. And this is a thing that women don't realize it, but this is maybe sickness number one amongst them. And if you would ask your husband in chambers, he would really tell you from, yeah, man, 90% of the time, you always blame people, and especially me. He would tell you. He would tell you not to be false. So stop accusing me. So second,
not given to much wine.
I used to think that men drink a lot. But if you observe, you realize women can drink. Huh? Hey, women can drink. Seriously, women can drink. And you wouldn't realize it, but they are drinking. So he's saying, not given to much wine. Read.
And teachers of good things.
They ought to be teachers of good things. That they may teach
the young women.
That they may teach the young women to be what?
To be sober.
One. And this sober, is not just the wine aspect, even though they can drink. Sober is because women are the number one dreamers in the world. It is difficult for a woman to be realistic. They dream. They dream. They have this utopian sense of the world. Van ja, maar ik dacht dat. And they always, ik dacht dat. But life is a shock. And that's why you need a strong man beside you who can tell you, hey, life does not work. What you have in your mind is a fantasy. is a fantasy. So he's telling them, please, old women, you have been through a lot. When you are teaching a young woman, number one, tell them to stop dreaming. Be sober. You go into a relationship with fantasy. You give birth to a child, you have fantasies. The child will make me so happy. And then you look at the child and you become depressed because you were not trained. You have your degree and diploma, you believe in fantasies. I'll be a career woman. Now you are 30, they look at your CV, there are more holes in your CV than Swiss cheese. So you're like, hey, it's fast. Hey, why? Because fantasy. You fantasy. Women. So he's telling them, teach them. Number one, women, please be sober. Stop all these dreams. Babylon has lied to you. It has lied to you. There is no career in Babylon. So he's telling them, please, first, women, be sober. Next,
To love their husbands.
to what?
To love their husbands.
Next,
To love their children.
to love their
children.
Does this make sense that old women have to teach young women to love their children? Does it make sense? Does it make sense to you? Because sometimes our sisters, they think like, oh, because I changed the baby's diaper, it means I love him. Oh, just because I make food for that child, it means I love him. You don't know what love entails. They are able to give food to the child, change the child diapers, but then chase the dad away, but they still think, I love the child. No matter how much food you give the child, no matter how much diapers you change, if the dad is gone because of you, you don't love that child. People, you are doing things for selfish reasons. So it tells you, teach them first, be sober. 2, love your husband, and then love your children. Stop being selfish. Second point.
To be discreet.
To be discreet.
Chaste.
It means you don't run your mouth everywhere. I listened to the excerpt yesterday, and someone was saying it from sometimes it's difficult for them to keep secrets. Be discreet. Chaste.
Keepers at home.
Keepers at
home. Good and obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yah be not blasphemed.
So you see what Shaul said? This is good doctrine. They said, as becoming good doctrine. All the examples that he gave is good doctrine. If you take the book of Titus, you take Proverbs 31, it's the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. How many spiritual things do you see here? How many? How many? But this is what becoming good doctrine. So the infamous question of the sister.
Before we jump to that question, there's another question. What do you do when there are no aged women or experienced women to teach the younger women? And
that's why we are doing this now. So I think we said it long time ago, years back. We said because the women have failed their daughters, now we preachers are double doomed, because now we have to teach the young men, but at the same time also we have to take up sermons and teach women. Am I a woman? So if we had older women now, she would take this subject would be given to her. This would be given to her, and she would come and pray because they are not there now. We have to put on this hat and go through these things and then be misunderstood. Yes. Yeah. And then be misunderstood. But we must soldier on. Yeah. So we are continuing. And yeah, we think that it is having your domain. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But Titus is still there. Proverbs 31 is still there. So you think Samuel's mother did not go there? It's still there. And the funny thing is, luckily for us, no one can say we are writing our own stuff. We didn't write any books. We are just quoting and explaining. So you don't like it, go and remove it from the text. And just because you didn't understand what it means, does that mean that we cannot explain what it says? So when you saw sober, I know you linked it to only wine. But life is not that straightforward. Sober-minded means so many things. It means stop dreaming. So let's continue because of time. Next slide. The question the sister asked, I think, about children and stuff. So so Deborah, mother Israel, blah blah blah. Okay, we just read that. If we go to slide 15,
as the conclusion.
Okay, so then I think I will have to explain it then. Maybe no, I think it will be in the conclusion. I think it will be in the conclusion. And if not, then I will explain it. So first, read the conclusion. And if the answer is not there, then I will jump back to the sister's question. So in conclusion, we have looked at some key
principles of leadership amongst women, using some examples from the life of Deborah. From the biblical text, it is clear that the requirements of a woman in leadership closely parallels the role of a mother in a house. Therefore, the utmost honor and role a woman can occupy is that of a mother.
Don't ever forget this. And I know that this is in direct contradiction the teachings of Babylon. They have completely degraded the role of a mother to the point where they have taken away womanhood from you. Now a crazy guy can stand up and say, I am a woman, and women are not even offended. They're not even offended. They have taken away your birthright, but you are not even offended. Yeah, we should just let them be. But if we let them be, you will die out. Babylon is telling you, focus on your career, focus on this, focus on that, have fun, do this. And when you're maybe 45, you can think about, no, the utmost honor and role a woman can occupy is that of a mother. And then I wrote down, literally and
figuratively,
a mother
provides counsel, is kind, protects and nourishes with long suffering and patience. A mother also is under the guidance of her husband, and her utmost task is to make sure that her household is well kept. Among the Bantus, we have a saying, when a house is dirty, it is to the shame of the woman in the house. After that, the household is set in order. The woman can then exercise their gift and calling of a prophetess within the set order of Elohim, like we saw with Deborah, Miriam, Huldah, and many more. This, however, is secondary and not primary.
Repeat that, please.
This, however, is secondary and not primary.
Be very
careful, however, that you do not become comfortable in your household and forget your calling if you have been called as a prophetess or another leading capacity. One task does not excuse the other. What is required is a proper balance and right prioritizing of things.
That is the issue. Because some women will hear this and be like, you see, so I have to take care of my household. And all she does is taking care of her household. Elohim has become an afterthought. And if you do this, you are also in danger. So what I'm saying is that the true sign of intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas at the same time. Meaning, yes, the primary task is of your household. Secondary task will be the calling upon your life, be it a prophetess or whatsoever capacity. However, put too much emphasis on your spiritual calling if you are a female, and you will have an issue. The males is the other way around. Primary calling is your spiritual one. Secondary is your household. Put too much emphasis on your household, you will have an issue. The female is the other way around. Primary task is your household. Secondary, your spiritual calling. Put too much emphasis on your house, on your spiritual calling, you will have an issue. However, you as a male, ignore your household completely, you will also have an issue. You as a female, ignore your spiritual calling because of your household, you will have an issue. You must find a fine balance and learn how to prioritize things. Don't think, oh, yeah, my children. So since your children came into being, you have stopped living. And you think that that is normal. And you are wondering why, maybe am I going through things? Why do I not have a burnout? Why am I depressed? Or why am I even sick? You think that if you go away for 2 to 3 days, your children will die? Who told you that? Who told you that? Sometimes you going away for 2 to 3 days, it will help your children develop. Learn to find the proper balance. Your children are not your God. Your children are lent to you. Learn when to be with them and when to let them be, so you can think about yourself. Think about your health, your mind, your mental stability. Think also about Elohim. You have gifts, he has need of them. So the sister will ask, and what if you don't have children? That's why we said the role of a mother is literally, but it's also figuratively. You can be in a church assembly and you play the role of a mother. It means, because I know there are sisters in our group, there are many things they can't ask me. They can't ask Justice. They can't ask Jeff. Maybe they are young in the group or in the ministry and they have burning questions. But since they can't ask us because of the distance, because we are male, they are looking for sisters in the group who are maybe older, who they can approach. But you are assisting the group and everybody knows you are unapproachable. So if you don't chill with sisters in the group, how do you think you can develop the trust for the sisters to come to you? So like I'm like, wow. So has all our preaching been in vain? Have all our preachings been in vain? How do you want to establish the friendship that is needed for the sisters to come to you and ask for aid? You are one of the oldest in the group. No one can come to you. You are an island by yourself. So yeah, can even mention. So who should deal with you? You ought to be as a mother in the group. A sister comes in, you ought to see her as a child in the group. How can I help this child? How can I tell this child that it is fine? How can I show this child that I'm open when she has issues? You are a Deborah in the group. See yourself like that. I have many experience. I can teach the younger children how to behave. Maybe she has issues with how to wrap her head, questions about how to pray, questions about menstrual, questions about house. Many questions that some sisters may have that are young. You are one of the oldest. Unacceptable. You are unapproachable, antisocial, sharp mouth. Everything negative is you. That is not being a mother. You are not leading by example. You're not sacrificing. Sometimes someone calls you, hey Chris, can I maybe come by? Actually, I don't want you to come by. I don't want you to come by. But maybe I know that if that person comes by, maybe under the guise of friendship, maybe that person has an issue. And when we're just walking or just discussing simple things, that conversation will naturally come up. So even when I don't want you to come by, I will sacrifice my time. I will say, come. But in my agenda, I have a mission. I'm like, let me help him relax. And maybe there is something we can solve. But you don't want to sacrifice your time. Why? Because you are too busy with your life. Ja, nee, als ik wegga naar mijn kinderen. No problem. But you are putting overemphasis on one and you are forgetting the other. And it will cost you. It will cost you. So, are all the questions tackled? I think it is time we thank the Almighty for today. We hope that this is food for thought. And may we continue to develop. And until the very next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.